Live with CDP Sports Talk, a weekly sports and entertainment podcast sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet. Live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and LinkedIn. And on audio via Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, Anchor FM, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Radio Public, and TuneIn. Now, here's your host, Chris Palme.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Season 6, Episode 33 of Live with CDP Sports Talk, sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Auto Mall. You can check out barrycullen.com for the newest selection of new and pre-owned GM vehicles, or give them a call at 519-824-0210, or you can email them at info@barrycullen.com as well. Live with CDP is on weeknights at 8 p.m. on radio station WQEE 99.1 FM, The Key in Southern Georgia, the home of talk. And I want to say thank you to Ryan O'Neill, the station manager, for bringing my show on his station 7 months ago as well. I hope everyone's doing well on this Thursday, August 10th, 2023. Summer is flying by, and I'm looking forward to my guest today. This is his second time on my show, first time in a year, and his name is Joe Whitbread. He has spent 31 years as a public figure and continues to take the mic daily. He's also a keynote speaker, MC, a voiceover artist, and he's also the public address announcer for the Western Canadian Baseball League's Sylvan Lake Gulls out of Alberta. And right now the Gulls are going to the next round, and I'm looking forward to having Joe on our show today. Good afternoon, Joe.
It's great to be with you. Hi, Chris, and thanks for having me on your show again. And hello to everybody watching or listening. We appreciate you. And certainly a public figure means nothing if you don't know who the heck I am. So while you're listening along or watching along, by all means, I'm on all the channels at Joe Whitbread, and you can do your investigative reporting. But let's have a great conversation today, Chris.
How's the weather in Sylvan Lake, Alberta?
You know, things today are a little cloudy and overcast, but I think we're getting ready for a real sunshiny weekend. We've had some wonderful days for baseball, although I don't mind a little cloud and cover for the players on days like that either. So we've just had a really good summer, some heat, some rain. It's a lot green and a lot ready for playoff baseball.
Similar to what we're having here in Ontario. We've had our hot days and stuff like that, but it hasn't been too bad. And we've actually had more rain this summer than we have the last couple of years. So, but hopefully you guys, the first game tomorrow for the Gulls and the Dogs is on the road, I believe, right?
Yeah, and I get to go down for the game. Our staff are taking a team bus with some fans. It's about a 5,500 seat stadium in Okotoks, which is just south of Calgary, Alberta. That's the opponent for the Sylvan Lake Gulls. The Sylvan Lake is located about 15 minutes off of the QE2 highway, which, if you're not familiar with the Alberta region, Calgary and Edmonton are split right down the middle with a community called Red Deer. And right in the middle is a beautiful vacation spot called Sylvan Lake. It's about 15 minutes to the west towards the mountains in Jasper and Banff. And Sylvan Lake is just a gorgeous place, and it has really become a baseball hub. And I truly mean a hub. We're right in the middle of Alberta, or at least between the two major centers. So we're headed to Okotoks, again, south of Calgary, to play our arch rivals in round two, the semifinals, with the winner moving on to play the winner of Moose Jaw and Medicine Hat next week.
What time is first pitch tomorrow night?
So it'll be 7:05 Mountain Standard Time, MST. Okay. So yeah, 7:05 first pitch on Friday night in Okotoks. Then we're back at Sylvan Lake's Gulls Field on Saturday night, same time, 7:05 Mountain Standard Time. And then game 3, if necessary, will follow on Sunday in Okotoks.
How long of a bus ride is it approximately, or a car ride?
Yeah, so we'll get to so from Sylvan Lake south to Calgary is about an hour 50, 2 hours. So it's another 20-25 minutes south to Okotoks. So all told, we'll be there in good health and safely in about 2 hours and 30 minutes. We'll get there, watch some BP, and get ready for the ball game.
Overall, how's the mood of the community, and how much has this team meant to the community since they've came there a couple years ago?
Yeah, it's a great question. We're in our third year in the WCBL, third year of baseball in Sylvan Lake, Alberta, in a league that's been around for a while. In fact, this next round series against Okotoks really represents the new team, the Sylvan Lake Gulls, against one of the old grandfathered favorites. And make no mistake, the Okotoks Dogs are certainly a favorite. They've won this league many times, and they beat us 1 year ago in this very series. So the mood here in Sylvan Lake, or even Central Alberta, this has really become Central Alberta's team. Well, they call home Sylvan Lake. There's surrounding areas like Red Deer, Innisfail, Ponoka, Lacombe. A lot of communities take in ball games. So the mood is really high. We've introduced baseball for many fans. This is definitely a hockey nation. For many of your listeners and viewers, they might recognize the names like the Sutter family.
Oh yeah.
The Sutters are from this area, and they were just at the ball game on earlier when we beat Lethbridge in round one. Not all of them, of course. There's 6 Sutter brothers that played in the National Hockey League, and many of their kids as well. So they come to our games quite frequently. So it's really a hockey community that has really fallen in love with baseball, which I love because, as you can probably see, I'm a huge hockey fan and have worked in hockey as well. But I just love baseball, always have, played the game, coached the game, parented through the game, and now I get to broadcast and be a part of the ballpark every night. So it's a really good mood, and people really love baseball in Alberta.
Just for my audience, how did Sylvan Lake get a franchise, and what was that process like?
Yeah, so the league has gone through its ups and downs. Typically in the wheat belt or here on the prairies, baseball has always had a following, but baseball people are baseball people, a little bit different than the other sports. Hockey certainly is a Canadian thing, and we know that at Christmas time or during the Olympics. Everyone gathers around the hockey game, but baseball is a little bit different. Baseball, if you're a baseball person, you're a baseball person. It doesn't mean new fans aren't welcome, but new fans do come along. And then there's the looky-loos. There's the people who are simply looking for something to do, and they might go to a baseball game, or in our region, the Calgary Stampeders or the Edmonton Elks, CFL teams that are just up and down the highway from us. But baseball really started to grow here in Central Alberta when people started realizing that the Edmonton Trappers, who are now defunct, but used to play in the Pacific Coast League, they used to be the farm franchise of the California Angels back in the day. They went defunct, and then the Calgary Cannons on the other side, they went defunct as well, unfortunately. They used to be the AAA franchise of the Seattle Mariners. And so when baseball was really starting to disappear, the local owners of the WCBL in sort of this wheat belt or prairie league, they're a farm family. They made their money and their passion and their talents are in the oil field and in ranch. And they said, you know what, we need baseball here. And so they built this magnificent stadium, quite literally a field of dreams out in the middle of Alberta canola fields. And the people will come, Ray. If you build it, the people will come. And the people did come, and they still come. And we put over 2,000 people in the seats every night. There's suites. There's amazing patios. Lots of adult beverages enjoyed and pop for the kids, ice cream, mascots. And baseball has really held on. But it's because of the vision of our ownership group and the leaders of this community that brought baseball here and said it would work. And they were right. It did work. And if you do the math, Chris, we started our first season in 2021, and that was in the epitome of a pandemic, and it was really, really difficult. But they persevered. They got a lot of community support, and here we are playing baseball 3 years later, and hopefully top of the league very soon if we can get past our arch rivals.
Overall, what would you rate the talent level in this league, and are there Canadian-born players in this league as well?
Absolutely. So it is predominantly an American-born league. It's a summer league of college ball players. I've heard anywhere from tier 3 to tier 4 level if it were in the United States. Certainly there's some players who have gone on to some pretty illustrious careers. Some Tampa Bay Rays used to play in Okotoks. We've had some draft picks. We had a Lethbridge Bull this year drafted into the Boston franchise, I believe. So you can get drafted into the major leagues from this, but for the most part, it's a summer league where American players, I think our percentage is 75 to 78% 98% American-born players. They come and they have a baseball experience, and then they have to go check back into their college teams. We've got players on our team from Utah, from California, from Nevada, from Arizona, lots of different players on our roster from the States. But to answer your question, there are Canadians here too, some local favorites and some Canadian kids from Vancouver or Calgary, even some from your region in Ontario who play for the Sylvan Lake Gulls. And what I find really fascinating, really encouraging, is that these young people, anywhere from age 18 to maybe 22 or 23 years old, they're not just coming to Sylvan Lake, Alberta, this place out of nowhere from an atlas on their computers to play baseball. They're coming here to live. They live with billet families. They really get to invest in the culture. For some of them, it's their very first impression of Canada. It's their first impression, certainly, of a prairie province. And so the loving families that take these kids in as billet host families really get to show them certainly a safe place to play baseball all summer, but a Canadian experience. And we're really proud of what we're able to show them in a beautiful community like Sylvan Lake.
And when you said the word billet families, I automatically think of the Ontario Hockey League or the Western Hockey League. And how important are billet families, especially to these young men that are going to a new country or a new city for the first time?
Yeah, obviously it's essential. And I mean that quite literally. It's essential. This league and many that you recognize in other sports, they can't exist without billet families. It would be absolutely non-economical to pay for hotels or places for players to stay. So billet families or host families get an opportunity to take in one or more players, like you said, in the OHL or the QMJHL in the East, or over here in the Western Hockey League. It happens all winter long. And for many Canadian kids out of province or out of city, and for some out of country or even off of the continent, get a chance in hockey to experience that new culture. So here, same thing. We don't have any international players past the US, of course. We don't have any European players, but I can see that potentially growing in the future, where we are billeting Euro players or players from off of the continent potentially for baseball, because as you know very well, players like Shohei Ohtani and others in the major leagues are showing off that this is an international game way beyond the United States of America, where it's predominant, and Canada, where we've got our one team, but way beyond. So we are seeing the sport grow, which is wonderful. And I can see that trickling down to leagues like ours in the Western Canadian Baseball League.
I want to say thank you to my viewer, Jason, on LinkedIn for watching this as well. And one thing, too, is baseball is no longer just an American sport. It's an international sport, just like hockey and basketball is as well.
Yeah, it really is. We're watching its popularity grow, and a lot has to do with social media. A lot has to do with broadcasted content that you and I know so well, that allows people to look in. You may not have the subscription to the channel or the league or the ability to watch individual games or contests, but now with social media, with content providers, not only on behalf of leagues, but on behalf of teams, and now on behalf of celebrity players, content producers and content creators are allowing us a look inside to not just celebrities, but athletes in sports we may never see. I can absolutely attest for this on a personal level, and I'm grateful for it, because social media brings us entities, human or league or team entities from all over the world, and we wouldn't otherwise be able to see them on our regular television or radio channels.
Absolutely. And I'm doing this show from my home in Guelph, Ontario, and every night it's aired on a station outside of Atlanta. And everybody always talks about the negatives about social media. Obviously, there are some negative aspects, but it's also a great tool. I wouldn't be able to talk to you today or do my new career without this technology that's available.
Yeah, absolutely. And a big shout out to all of your listeners, your fans, and your friends in Georgia or in Tennessee or wherever you might be listening, or in Ontario or where I am in central Alberta. It really is. And you hit it on the head. And by the way, I'm not just in sports. I'm not just a public address announcer. I literally travel Western Canada and speak in schools to young people about the benefits, to your point, certainly many detriments and negatives, but the benefits to social media. What we're doing on our devices has a lot of detriment, addictions and terrible things and negative mental health. But to your point, we have to start realizing that it's our youth and our young people. And this is what I speak about in keynotes and presentations everywhere. And certainly I welcome anyone to invite me into your place on screen or in person, because these conversations to promote the goodness of what social can be for entrepreneurs, for young athletes, for people. I have stories where young athletes were attempting to get into college, university, or even be scouted professionally during the pandemic, but couldn't. Scouts couldn't travel to watch them play in a rink. They couldn't travel to see them play on the field. And so they used their Instagram, their YouTube, their Twitch streams. Their channels became an opportunity to broadcast their brand. Shooting a watermelon off the top of a hockey net on an outdoor rink in the middle of a Canadian winter can be great content, not just to laugh at and like, but to earn you a scholarship to a university to play. And we are watching that happen before our very eyes. So I'm glad you mentioned that. We have an opportunity as adults to help teach our kids, certainly the safety online and social communication, but it is absolutely my passion to start teaching them the opportunities that exist if they're willing to broadcast their brand in a positive way that helps the world.
Okay, definitely. We're gonna get back to the Gulls, and then we'll talk a little bit more about what your role is with your businesses and all that as well. One thing I wanted to ask you, Joe, if I'm in Ontario and I want to watch the game tomorrow night, is it going to be broadcast on a YouTube channel?
So it's not on a YouTube channel. I think there's a post game. If you're looking for it live, you're going to go to HN Live, hnlive.ca. It's our broadcast channel. We have a very, very good broadcast, by the way. It's produced actually by a director, a producer, and camera people who work on NHL broadcasts, as well as Olympic broadcasts. We are a hub for activity when it comes to the National Hockey League and the CFL, as you can imagine. Just to give you an idea of where I am right now, I'm right in the middle of Calgary and Edmonton. And so a lot of people who work in this region actually work in media in the NHL, in the CFL, or get taken on as contractors for major networks for large events like the Olympics or a World Cup event or something like that. And so as a result, their day job is working Sylvan Lake Gulls baseball. So we've got shooters, directors, and producers who are really good at what they do. And we have a incredible broadcast. Okotoks will broadcast their game and Sylvan Lake will broadcast our game. So the one thing to keep in mind is you'll see a home broadcast only. So Friday night's game is in Okotoks, Saturday night's game is in Sylvan Lake, and that's where these broadcasters I'm talking about will be, behind the cameras and the microphones.
Okay, is it free to watch, or do you have to subscribe, or how did that work, Joe?
Yeah, there is a subscription. Obviously, these people need to get paid. And I
Okay.
completely agree with that. So yeah, check it out, hnlive.ca if you want to check it out. Not sure if there's a per game fee. I'll be honest, I haven't investigated the season ticket memberships or anything else, but I can promise you it's good baseball, and I'm sure you can probably log in for a game or two.
All right, and if you don't mind, I actually got a clip of the game the other night where you guys beat the Lethbridge Giants 12-7. Is it okay if I play that clip off of YouTube, by the way?
Yeah, absolutely. Lethbridge Bulls, Fort McMurray Giants. We beat the Bulls the other night. That's all good. Let's see it.
Okay.
Love it.
All right, 1 second. I'm just gonna play it right here. Just
so this will be the voice,
and hopefully you can hear the audio.
Yeah, this will be the voice of Jim Claggett, who's our play-by-play man.
Popped up.
Okay. Just 1 second. Just 1 second. Hopefully we'll get it on frozen. Sometimes it happens. Okay.
Driven into center.
Can you hear it okay?
Going.
Yeah.
Going. Gone. Wiesner with the long ball here in the first inning. And just like that, it's 1-0 Gulls as Wiesner homers. A solo blast the first. Solo blast making it 1-0. That ball hit well into left. Over the head of the left fielder for the Bulls. Clement couldn't quite get under it. Pitch from Klein. Rocked past the second baseman Simpson. And the Bulls have a run. There they go. base hit into left. Clement's going to come through with a clutch 2 RBI double. One. That's going to get through. The Bulls have taken their first lead. Car goes. And that ball is going to go into the alley. 1 run will score for the Gulls. We've got a tie game. Steps in. And it's right up the middle. He delivers. A 2 RBI single. That's going to miss and get away once again. Here comes the runner from third. He's safe. Here's the 0-1. Kabayama delivers. It could be a base hit. It is up the middle. The Bulls have a run. That's going to go up the middle. The Gulls are going to turn a double play, but it brings in a run. And that's going to tie the game. The Bulls. Here's the pitch from Kaliski. That's going to get through. 2 runs are going to score for the Gulls. Chop of the bat could be 2. Bulls will turn 1. That ball is hit well into right. Going, gone. A rocket over the right field roll. And Chase Rodriguez has blown it open. Got him. Haney's done. Strikes out to end the game. 12-7 is your final score as the Sylvan Lake Gulls come into town and take.
All right, that clip was courtesy of Home Team Live. And thoughts on that game and the series?
Yeah, first of all, that was the Lethbridge Bulls broadcast. So that was a home game in Lethbridge, which is right near the U.S., well, nearer the U.S. border, south in Alberta. That's our opponent in round 1. We swept that. What you just witnessed was the highlights from game 2. It's only a 3-game series. We won here at home, and then we went down there and won. So that was the Bulls broadcast. So I'm not sure who the announcer was, just to be clear. And Home Team Live is where you can go. I said HN Live. I apologize. Home Team Live is where you can check out all home broadcasts, so including this weekend. Obviously, it was a really great series. In our division, the Alberta side of the division, there's a Saskatchewan side and an Alberta side. The first round was us against Lethbridge. Very good team. They won the league 2 years ago. So they are a former champion as well. We ousted them. On the other side, Okotoks, who were playing in round 3, they were successful over Fort McMurray. Fort McMurray is north of here, and many of you might be familiar with that oil field community in Alberta, a real heartbeat of what we do, and obviously tragic fires that made national attention years ago. So Lethbridge and Fort McMurray are out. Okotoks and Sylvan Lake are moving on. That game had plenty of hits and lots of home runs, you'll notice too. This is a home run league. These are young, talented hitters, great pitchers, but lots of home runs both here in Sylvan Lake and, like you saw, in Lethbridge as well.
I wanted to ask you this out of curiosity from the league. I know you can speak for the Gulls Stadium. What are the average dimensions for some of these ballparks?
Yeah, so if you look online, it's very much similar at major league levels or large college levels. We have 400s to the corners, just slightly over that to center field. We're a big park. There are some shorter fences in the league, but for the most part, we have a very average, when it comes to baseball, sized ballparks. And these kids have some strength at a young age, and they're hitting it out like they do in the show.
Do you guys have some nights where the winds picks up in that area?
Yeah, absolutely. So for those of you with some geography knowledge, you'll realize much like Kansas, is Tornado Alley in the States. That this part of the world has some really nasty thunderstorms. So there's a lot of, again, I'm not an official meteorologist. I just play one on the Chris Palme podcast. But when the winds and the high pressure systems roll over the Rocky Mountains to the west of here, there's a lot of volatility in the skies. And so we, in the middle of June and July, we get a lot of nasty thunderstorms and tornadoes, unfortunately. So we didn't have any that hit the ballpark, but there's definitely some weather patterns that the players have to be familiar with. And we had a lot of rain delays, but not necessarily some rain cancellations this year. Lots of different weather patterns in here in the summertime. And then if you live here in the winter, well, like many of your Canadian audience can attest, it gets mighty cold in central Alberta.
Do they have a tarp for the field during rain delays or during the off season? I know there's a league here called the Inter-County Baseball League, and none of the teams can afford tarps. So there's some days where they got to cancel games and they can't even play them the next day because the field's in such bad shape. So do they have like protective equipment for the field? Like
so actually our field, which you can see in behind our image, I don't know if you can take our picture. If you can take our pictures off of the screen right now, and it's okay if you can't, in behind there's a picture of Gulls Field, which is our home field. Yep. You'll notice that the entire infield is it's actually NFL grade turf. So there's no need to cover it. We've had pouring rain, and within five minutes it's drained completely off. The entire outfield and down the foul lines are real dirt and real grass, but the turf is all artificial from the backstop all the way to second base, and the drainage is amazing. The water doesn't pool at all, so no, we don't need to cover it up. And frankly, our trainers love it too, because the white pants, the gray pants, they never get dirty because they're sliding on carpet.
So you don't really need a lot of groundskeepers then. Wow.
We officially have no. We have no official grounds crew.
Wow, because the league here, all this teams play on grass and dirt fields. So when the weather's bad, it's like, wow. And there's a lot of rainouts and stuff like that. But they should look at eventually doing what you guys are doing in the future and go with that turf and that. How do the players like playing on that surface?
They love it. The first thing that every single one of them says is it's a true ground ball. So if a bullet line drive comes to shortstop or down the hot corner, it's a true bounce, because there's absolutely no rocks or undulations in the soil to impact the way that a ball bounces. So the first thing they love is the true bounce ground balls. What they don't necessarily love, although it makes the game very interesting, is because it's such sleek, and I mean it's NFL grade infield. So the turf is exactly what you'd see on the NFL. But when they slide through second or slide through third, they literally slide past the bag. We love watching it from upstairs in the press box, because the visiting teams and the players that come in don't necessarily know how to slide on it. And so quite often a play will automatically be out at second, except they slide past and they're easily tagged when they slid off the base.
Now, I haven't been to any Major League Baseball games this year, but I've been covering the Buffalo Bisons, and they did this years ago with pitch clock and the bigger bases. Now they've done that with Major League Baseball. Does the Western Canadian Baseball League have a pitch clock, and do they use bigger bases as well?
No, that rule has not made it down to the WCBL just yet. I'm not 100% sure that it's coming or if they've even talked about it. Certainly every year there's a management meeting and a league meeting. But at this point, there is not a pitch clock. But I'll also say I've been to every single game since inception of this club for 3 years. I have been to Major League Baseball games in Seattle and in Toronto. And in Oakland, there is definitely it's a quicker version here. I will say that the players, I don't believe right now, as a true baseball fan, that the pitch clock is needed in the WCBL. It is absolutely needed in Major League, and I believe that. I'm sure a few of your listeners and viewers may have objections to that, but I like the pitch clock in the major leagues, but I don't think it belongs yet in our league because the pitchers are still very quick, and the league is still it's fan based. Certainly, they want to make sure the fans are entertained, but the pitchers aren't hurrying the game too much, but they're not going way too slow either.
I know the one league here, the Intercounty Baseball League, some of their games go 4 or 5 hours. And to me, as much as I love baseball, that's just too long. So I'm in favor of it for AAA and Major League Baseball. The only rule I don't like is that ghost runner at second base with nobody out in extra innings. I understand they don't want games going 17, 18 innings, Joe, but I really don't like that ghost runner at second base. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, appreciate that. We do have the ghost runner as well.
Okay.
I will say I'm actually in favor of it. I'll just say this point on it. It's not so much about a game going 17, 18 innings. In our league, and I'm sure many others, there's just not a lot of resources or money to hotel or keep these visiting teams overnight. These are expensive bus rides. Fort McMurray, which is the furthest north team in our league, has to travel 7 hours to get to our building. That means they have to travel 7 hours home afterwards and likely play tomorrow. While in the major leagues, they get on limousine buses, they get on airplanes, and they travel to major centers where their luggage is taken to hotels. Here in the WCBL, these players are riding buses, they're playing the next day, and they're kids. They're fed pizza and Subway sandwiches on the bus. And so I do like the ghost runner because it hurries up the post-game ability for them to simply get on the bus, hopefully get a good night's sleep when they finally arrive, and play the next day.
Okay, well, it's good to get another perspective of it as well. I like I said, I guess you're right. I've gotten used to it. I guess I'm still a little bit old school in that, but yeah, nobody really will now want 17 or 18 inning games and stuff like that as well. So
it also impacts, as a manager, a former manager, not in this league, but I did manage baseball. When you're trying to determine if you want to win a game, obviously by the ninth inning, but it goes to extras, you have to manage your bench a lot differently to make sure that you've got pitchers in the bullpen, but also, position players that could possibly play in the 13th or 14th. And I really like the ghost runner because you don't have to manage the game in detriment to playing the best possible roster. You can get it done in 9 innings because it's probably done in 10 or 11, not 17 or 18.
good point there. And also, I wanted to ask you this: what is a normal roster size on a Western Canadian Baseball League team?
Yeah, so we're carrying about 7 extra pitchers, 6 to 7 pitchers, and we're carrying probably 4. Most teams are carrying 4 to 8 extra lineup players as well. That does fluctuate. That does change. There are affiliate players from local communities. For example, Okotoks, the teams were playing in round 2, is a real baseball community. They have a baseball academy there. And so a lot of affiliates get to play. They live in Calgary or the Okotoks region. And so they're called up on affiliate basis. So the roster changes. True players on the roster would be in the numbers of 5 or 6 extras on the pitching side and the player side. But when it comes to affiliates, I really like that they're getting young, U18, U17 age talent into some of these rosters to get a taste of the next level.
What are some keys to a Gulls series win against the Dogs?
That's a great question. Pitching, always pitching. We really do have some fantastic pitchers. Unfortunately, we had to use a few of them to get through Lethbridge, and so we're hoping that the recovery is swift and quick. These playoffs go real fast. The postseason is only 3-round series with only 1 day of rest in between. Luckily, we had 2 days of rest because we swept round 1. So we didn't have to play on Wednesday night, and we didn't have to play last night, or tonight. But here we go, and we're ready to get going. So pitching is number 1. I think that's the honest question in any baseball question. How do you win a game? Pitching. But second to that is our incredible lineup of hitters. Not just the powerhouse hitters and the ones that make the fans get out of their seats for long balls, but we've got some really great RBI hitters. scoring and cashing in runs in scoring position is really what it's all about. So I think it's really important that the pitching staff is ready to go, not just the starters and the closers, but everyone in the bullpen, and then of course our hitters. And that's a great question too. Some of the key players that you may or may not have heard of. In those clips, you heard the name Rodriguez. He's from Las Vegas. Chase is a heck of a ball player. Jonah Weisner is our MVP for good reason. He had some incredible statistics this year in almost every category. Josh Tucker is a pitcher who won. He wears the King's crown for best pitcher in our league with low ERA and lots of strikeouts. And a variety of others, some long ball hitters in our team and on others. It really is worth an investment to check out the WCBL's website. This is not just some sugar sweet Canadian summer baseball league. This is legitimately a next step or a next level to some great college, university, and even major league talent. So I'm glad you asked that question. There's some really great players on our team that we love. Fan favorites like Ben Prediger behind the bench, behind the home plate. Just a heck of an interview too, Chris, which you'll appreciate. I love that we get to work with these players, not just on baseball skills, but they get to really learn what it's like to be a big fish in a small pond. And I mean that quite sincerely. A lot of these players do not understand when they come to Canada, or if they live in Canada and come to Sylvan Lake, that this is a big deal. We're putting 2,200 people in the seats. They want autographs. They want to post for pictures. And when you're 18, 19 years old and you just play baseball, but you realize, oh, I guess I'm a bit of an influence to some young kids. They're really learning that fast, and our kids really get that. And Ben is a specimen of that. Ben has really learned that this is about baseball. Yes, wins and losses, strikeouts, hits, but it's also about the fans. And when you've got a young kid looking at you like you're a major league ball player because they're 7 years old and you're wearing a uniform, it's nice to sign an autograph, but spend some time with them too and hand them a baseball that was used during the game. And they get that here, and they get that lesson here. And I think that's invaluable training for whatever these guys do in their next part of their world. I hope they play baseball professionally, but let's face it, very few of them will. They'll be humans in a human world, and those adults have to be good adults. And we have really good humans and a really good way to teach good humans here at Sylvan Lake.
To me, there's a lot of similarities between this league and the Ontario Hockey League, or in your case, the Western Hockey League as well.
Yeah, it's exactly. We use that actually a lot. I mean, we're a new baseball community, certainly in a world where baseball is lore. Trail BC, is a huge baseball community in Western Canada. You've got British Columbia communities that had the likes of Larry Walker. Some real great Canadian talent came from Western Canada, but we're new to that here in Central Alberta. So we use hockey as sort of a comparison when new fans are wondering what they're about to see. One of the very first things they say when they come out is, oh, this is actually pretty good baseball. And we're like, yeah, this is really good baseball. And you're right. These are junior players billeted in a community, sometimes out of country or out of province. And they are they're learning to be citizens in our community. And so one of the biggest parts, and I just value the Sylvan Lake Gulls so much for the baseball training and mentorship, certainly, but it's the leadership about making good human beings out of these kids. So they go back to their place of residence, their home, and maybe their next job somewhere down the road as a good human being.
Absolutely. Now, does your league have the pitchers hit, or no more pitchers hit? It's designated hitters.
We're all designated hitters, although
Okay.
just like the Angels, we have some Shohei Ohtanis, some really young, talented individuals who are in the bullpen, but also we use their bats. But yeah, we're a designated hitter league.
Definitely. And one thing, Joe, this year I was able to go to the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame in St. Mary's, Ontario, which is just about an hour from me, just outside of London. And if you've never been there, I would highly recommend it. And if you ever do come down here, I would be happy to take you up there, because Scott Crawford does a great job running the Baseball Hall of Fame. And I got to interview Jesse Barfield, John Olerud, Rich Harden, who's from British Columbia, by the way, and I'm going to hopefully have them on my show. And they do a nice job down in St. Mary's, Ontario for the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame, and I want to give them a shout out.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And I saw your social media content on that. I haven't had a chance to go. I would love to go. And it's on my son and my bucket list to get to Cooperstown too. But I saw your social media content with Barfield and some of the others you met during that trip. So shout out to those guys, because they certainly do look like they're a hospitable Canadian baseball family. And I appreciate that as a Canadian baseball fan.
And sometimes, Joe, you have a hero in sports, and then when you meet them, they don't always they're not always what they're like on TV or on the field. But I can tell you this: Jesse Barfield, John Olerud, two of the most humble, down to earth people, and they're exactly what they were like when they were playing for the Blue Jays in Major League Baseball as well.
Well, I like to think when you play in Canada, even if you come from the States, you do get that Canadian component, which is that the grace, the empathy, the friendship, the likability. Certainly some amazing Americans in my life, people I appreciate, highly respect and revere. But I like to think if you ever come to play a sport in Canada or even get to visit family here, that a little bit of our Canadiana rubs off on you, because Canadians just are exactly everything you stereotype here about. We don't live in igloos, and our cars aren't always plugged in, but we absolutely have some kind human beings. So I like to think that some of those American players you speak of who spent much of their career up here, maybe a little bit of Canadiana rubbed off on them too.
Absolutely. And I'm gonna honestly try to get out to Alberta next year. I really want to get out there, especially to a golf game. But there is one ballpark in Ontario that's the oldest ballpark in North America, and it's a must see if you ever come down this way. Labatt Park in downtown London. It's been around since 1873, and it's as nice as Doubleday Field in Cooperstown as well.
Yeah, I've seen it plenty. Absolutely. Its reputation precedes itself. Over here in the West, we have a little bit of a sore spot for our friends out in London. It's simply a sports rivalry, but the London Knights and the Red Deer Rebels have done when they meet up in the Memorial Cup. We hosted the Memorial Cup in 2016, and unfortunately, Mitch Marner and Kachuk and the London Knights took that trophy home on our home ice. So there's a little bit of a sore spot with London, but you're right. A heck of a sports community, and certainly full respect to all of their franchises and that great field.
And you guys have the Sutters out in Alberta, and we have the Hunters, Dale and Mark Hunter, and their son Dylan Hunter here in Ontario as well. So it's a great, our country has so much great sports, and everyone obviously talks about the States for baseball, but we have a long tradition of baseball here in Canada, and I'm sure there's beautiful ballparks, not just the Gulls ballpark out in Alberta and Saskatchewan and Manitoba as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, the Wheat Belt Baseball League for many years across the prairies, just absolutely amazing ball players come from this part of the world. And I'd like to give a shout out to your listeners and fans in the Georgia region. I mean, there's an Atlanta Brave pitcher from Calgary, Alberta. And just a heck of a young man. He chose baseball over hockey, although he was very good at both. And we're very proud of our exports as much as we're proud of our imports.
Absolutely. And we have a Canadian, or sorry, I shouldn't say we, the Atlanta Braves have a general manager that's Canadian, Alex Anthopoulos, who I think the Blue Jays made a mistake letting him go.
I don't disagree with you there, but I don't want to get into any debates on the high levels of baseball management. That can't be an easy job, but I agree. And yeah, we love our Canadians. They're everywhere. We know they're in pop culture and celebrity. Many American friends that I speak to are incredibly amazed when I tell them that certain actors or singers are Canadian. Yeah, we're the top hat of the States in many ways, the toque, if you will, the knit cap, but we're really proud of our exports. We've got some amazing, talented people in both pop culture and entertainment, but in athletes too, and in higher management. And yeah, we're very proud of that.
Absolutely. And look at the NBA now. Other than the States, Canada is now one of the biggest countries in the world for providing basketball players. And Kitchener, Ontario native Jamal Murray won a championship with the Denver Nuggets this year. And then look at our golfer. I'm not a golf guy. I don't know much about golf, but Nick Taylor, I think his name was, from British Columbia, won the Canadian RBC Open as well.
One of the most exciting ends to a golf tournament ever, and nobody can protest that. An incredible, 74, 75-foot putt to win it with an eagle. Yeah, we have some incredible Canadians on tour. In fact, I'm inspired to wear my I think I'll finish the interview with my Canadian Jays hat, because a big fan of where we live, our people, and people like you and me who bring that to other people, because I think it's really important that we share what we love in a respectful way. And with your social media, with mine, we get an opportunity to share what we love, not just with Canadiana or Americana, but with great people and great athletes.
One thing, I'm going to talk to Scott Crawford, the director of the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame. Maybe one day, if you guys have some memorabilia from the Western Canadian Baseball League, maybe they can bring it down, have it as an exhibit at the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame, because it's not just the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame in St. Mary's, it's the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame. And I think your league might have some stuff that they might want to showcase to the fans over here in Ontario.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. Certainly something that I can chat with our ownership group about. The leaders, we want to be a part of the baseball conversation in our region, but certainly around the nation too. So I don't say we have amazing merch, by the way. You know, if you want to check out some great new hats that you might want to wear, Sylvan Lake Gulls have amazing merch. I will give them full credit. They've done a great job at the merchandise sales.
Marketing.
So if you need a new era hat in your size, Sylvan Lake has some really cool stuff.
Yeah, I have a big head, so I need the biggest size you have, a 7 5/8 or an extra large.
Oh, look at that.
So definitely. Hey, are you good for time for a few more questions?
Yeah, absolutely. And if anyone's listening or watching right now, even if we're not live where you are, absolutely would love to hear from you. Direct messages, private messages, whatever channel you're on, love to hear from you. I'm at Joe Whitbread, but certainly on Chris's show. And really appreciate your sponsor, Barry Cullen, as well. But yeah, by all means, even if we're not live, I always answer my social media questions. So if you are listening to this, even though we're not live, you might be listening to it later, drop me a line. I'd love to hear from you.
Are you active on Twitter quite often?
I'm active on X, Chris.
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
active on X.
We'll leave it at that. I'm not a fan of the new logo, because on my app, it looks like my TikTok app, because it's the same color as the TikTok app. So to me, I'm not I'll leave it at that. I don't want to get into politics, but I'm not a big fan of some of their changes. But apparently there's threads now on Instagram, which is sort of like Twitter. I've just signed up for it, but I'll check it out at some point.
Yeah, I'm on Threads as well. So I own a social media agency, so I speak the language of all of this stuff. I'm not about to here. I just so everyone knows, I'm very active on the social channels, because I literally own a social media agency. So you can look me up, and I'm definitely on one of the channels. I've got TikToks as well. So have a peek and be kind online.
Definitely. And gonna ask you this question. What is that's the wrong question. Sorry. What are your thoughts on the Sylvan Lakes Gulls ownership, their coaching staff, including the manager? I believe his name is Jason Chapman.
Chatwood. CHAT.
Oh, okay.
Yep. That's okay. We call him Chat. Jason is just fantastic. He's been our manager since inception. He's also on the leadership team. So he has a stake in the franchise, both on the bench, on the field, but off as well. Really great human being. And if you know Jason, you know you've got a baseball guy. This is someone who I admire, who I've worked with in minor baseball. He played the game right here in this region, and now he manages it at the highest level. He's baseball through and through. He is incredibly intelligent, works in the high school, works for the academy here. He's intelligent, baseball human, and a great father and husband as well. So I have nothing but great things to say. I'm not paid to say any of those things, so you got to know it's real. He has my full respect and the respect of this fan base in Sylvan Lake.
Overall, how has the community supported the team, especially in 2023, in terms of attendance and merchandise sales?
We just broke another attendance record, our third this season. We'll break another one this Saturday night. We cannot build enough seats fast enough. Obviously, that comes with some major expense and some major problems. So right now, I think the ownership group would tell you they're very happy with the growth of the team, but I think the fan base would tell you they want more seats. The downside with that conversation is always, if you want more seats, just get in line and get them earlier. We get a lot of complaints from people who couldn't get tickets because they waited till the last minute. And that seems to be the way things go in central Alberta. People wait till the last minute. I don't just mean the last minute for a ball game. I mean the last minute to even take interest in baseball. It's great that our fan base is growing. We're actually witnessing fans that didn't come to any games but are hearing about the Sylvan Lake Gulls. Earlier this season on Sportsnet, I was watching an Oilers game on television, and in the crowd after the Oilers scored, they showed a crowd shot, and there's Sylvan Lake Gulls hats. So we have a huge fan base. A lot of them are really, really happy to be at the ballpark every night. More would like to come to more games if they could, but summer holidays, summer vacations really get in the way sometimes of making it to a Tuesday night or a Wednesday night home game. So we're putting in about 2,000. We'll probably reach 21 or 2,200 this weekend, which will be a record. We just reached a record attendance just shy of 2,100 this week. So that's the official capacity, and that's putting them in everywhere. So we're really hoping that we maintain that. And then in the future, if it's right, I'm sure the ownership group would consider adding seats.
And overall, I guess the marketing has gone really well, and social media is a big influence now too on franchises.
Yeah, it really is. Sylvan Lake Gulls are fantastic on socials too, by the way. You should follow them at Sylvan Lake Gulls. They're on Insta, they're on X, and they are also on Facebook. Really fun stuff. They have TikTok channel as well at Sylvan Lake Gulls. They do some fun stuff with the players, and the players are very cooperative on social media. I don't know about you, Chris, but I really like when I see players show some personality, or at least leadership groups that allow players to show personality. And that definitely exists within our franchise. Our players are allowed to be personable, to be real, to be funny, to be charismatic. And I love that because that really attracts a younger fan base. So if you do check it out, or maybe you're doing that already, online at Sylvan Lake Gulls on TikTok, on Insta, and on X. It's a really they're really fun online.
From the sounds of it, it looks like this team is going to be in Sylvan Lake long term, and this is going to be like your replacement for hockey in the summertime. And I think it's great doing so well. Do you find there's more youth in the community now playing youth baseball as well from the Gulls being there?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great point by you. You know, Okotoks really built an academy of baseball where a lot of youngsters are learning the game, learning to love the game. And then that has bled over to the other teams. In fact, we haven't even talked yet about the Saskatoon Berries. If you're unfamiliar, that's a brand new team, great logo, great color scheme, great social media. But the Saskatoon Berries have just been launched next year into our league. So they're doing their summer and winter campaign to get season ticket growth. They're going to redo the field. There's a lot of excitement around the team. Saskatoon, if you're not familiar, is a very large center on the prairies, a very large city. And so Saskatoon's getting a team. So yeah, each of these communities, just like Saskatoon, Okotoks, Moose Jaw, Swift Current, they really are growing a culture to love baseball. So to answer your question, you bet. The Sylvan Lake Gulls put on their second annual baseball camp for kids. It was a huge success, sold out immediately, gorgeous afternoons. And just like a summer hockey camp with water slides and a swim in the lake, it became, well, I guess you wouldn't do that in the winter, but in baseball, you can, instead of water slides indoor, you can do the water slides outdoor and a swim in the lake. So we're really finding that in a community like Sylvan Lake, and if you're unfamiliar, it's a vacation type spot, a place where you bring your family to go camping or to Airbnb on the road. It really is it's a great additive if you've got a reason to be there. And a lot of families are saying the reason we should be there is baseball while we summer vacation in Sylvan Lake, Alberta.
So right now you currently have 10 teams, 5 in the East and 5 in the West. So Saskatchewan, I guess that'll be the 11th team. What I wanted to ask you, Joe, long term, do you see more expansion in Western Canada with this league then, with more teams?
Well, it's already happening, right? Saskatoon Berries have seen exactly they've seen the business and the potential, so they're growing. Edmonton prospects have left the league but are coming back. I have it under authority or account that they're building in some of the bedroom communities, so they won't be in Edmonton. They may be in Sherwood Park or Spruce Grove. So yeah, Edmonton's coming back into the league. I could even see potentially a team in Calgary, although they'd have to battle with Okotoks for a fan base. But Calgary's an enormous city with plenty of fans. I've heard there's a community called Grand Prairie, which is in the north, even more north than Fort McMurray. I can see them absolutely wanting a team. And I've heard that there are some Western Hockey League owners that maybe want to add baseball to their portfolio. So yeah, without a doubt, the WCBL, the Western Canadian Baseball League, will absolutely continue to grow. And I can even see it leaking into parts of BC should the BC leagues that are also playing have a good business interest. Certainly you don't want to step on anyone's toes.
You know, to be honest, Ontario used to have obviously a AAA team in Ottawa and some AA teams here, but it would be nice to see a Canadian Pro Baseball League, not just out in Western Canada, but in Ontario as well, and then have the Ontario champion take on the Western Canada champion, and that would be nice one day, because I really do think Ontario is under marketed for baseball. Obviously, you got the Blue Jays and stuff like that, but we lost a lot of the AA and the AAA teams, and the Intercounty Baseball League is really for guys that are they're at the end of their baseball careers, and they just want to keep playing competitive for now.
Yeah, the intercollegiate or collegiate level athletes that need a place to play. Summer in Canada is very, if any of your American viewers or listeners, we don't live in igloos here. We have beautiful days just like you do and sunshine, and it's a real fan-based league. And for business owners, baseball is a business, no different than hockey is. And so there's opportunity. You sell some ice cream, sell some beverages, and sell the game, which has this historic and beautiful feel to it. No matter which city I'm in, no matter which province I'm in, baseball has this different appeal. It is about the smell of the glove and the crack of the bat and the peanuts and the Cracker Jacks and the standing in the middle of the seventh inning to stretch. It really has this historic feel to it. And everywhere I go, baseball has that family value love. And that is what the game is sold on here and everywhere across Canada. So you're right. If it's not there, it should be. And once you get leagues that really buy into this system and start, playing the game properly too, man, you've just got a winning combination.
All right, I'm going to put you on the spot here. Who do you see winning the series between the Gulls and the Dogs? I'm going to put you on the spot here, Joe.
Well, if I vote with my heart, it's definitely the Gulls. If I vote with my head, it's also the Gulls. Last year, it was a really tough loss. I will say this will go all 3 games. Home in Okotoks on Friday, home at Gulls Field in Sylvan Lake, Alberta on Saturday, and then, if necessary, Game 3, and I believe it will be necessary. I think it'll be a 1-game winner-take-all Game 3 on Sunday afternoon to head to the final. And yes, I understand I'm biased, but I think the Sylvan Lake Gulls will beat the Okotoks Dogs this year. I think they have a chip on their shoulder from last year, and I think it's time to pass the torch. On the other side, you got Moose Jaw against Medicine Hat, 2 names in this country that everyone knows. They're often talked about on comedic stages, Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan, Canada, and Medicine Hat, Alberta, Canada. They are in the other series on the other side, both very good franchises. Moose Jaw was 3rd in the league behind Okotoks and Sylvan Lake. I'm going to give them the slight edge over Medicine Hat. I'm also going to say that's going to go 3 games. So I've got Medicine Hat losing to Moose Jaw in Game 3. I've got Okotoks losing to Sylvan Lake in Game 3. I've got Sylvan Lake Gulls against the Moose Jaw Miller Express in the final next week.
You know what? I'm actually going with your picks on both series. I think they'll both go 3 games each, and I think one of those series is going to be like a 1-run extra inning game.
I hope it's not mine because my heart can't take that, but I agree with you. I think it's going to go right down to the wire. We could even see extras. These are very good franchises left, both off the field and on, and I really, really hope that the winner is your Sylvan Lake Gulls.
Is your daughter Morgan still involved with the Gulls too?
Yeah, I'm so proud of my daughter. So she works in the winters for the Western Hockey League's Red Deer Rebels. I
Okay.
was there for 21 seasons. Morgan is the game day captain of the liaison to sponsors. She ensures that the sponsors' message is carried out by the game execution, whether it's jumbotron or live announcements, and that's what she does for us with the Sylvan Lake Gulls as well. I do the announcing for the team, and she's in charge of being the sponsor and client liaison, and in charge of captaining and quarterbacking all of the, you might go to a game and see someone throwing t-shirts or have someone hand you something at the gates when you get in. A lot of people forget that has to be organized, that has to be sold, and that has to be created, and that the fan experience at a live game has to be a good one. So you'll come back. That's what my daughter gets to do. And I'm so very proud of her. So we work together at the Sylvan Lake Gulls.
That's awesome. And the fans don't realize this. I've seen this in broadcasting, doing Rogers TV and the University of Guelph productions, but people don't realize how much work there is in a setup for broadcasting and also in-game presentations too. Like people don't realize how important they are, the broadcast, but also the in-game presentations to whatever they do, and the people that do the in-game announcing as well as the public address announcer as well.
Yeah, no, and I've been in broadcast my whole life. I've been on television, I've been on radio, I've done national broadcasts, I've been on stage and live entertainment, and certainly now with the online channels, so much opportunity for content, representation, influencing. I am so very privileged to be in the role I'm in, but you're right. The talented people, the skilled professionals in any job will make something look easy. And that's why consumers, onlookers, followers, connections online think it's easy. And frankly, it should look easy. But I'm glad you said that. Anyone on the inside of broadcast, whether it's behind the camera or in front of it, whether it's on the microphone or the people writing for it, every one of us knows it is blood, sweat, tears, talent, skill, and long hours to make it happen. We're very pleased to bring it to the attention of everyone there. But if we're part of the game instead of the game, we're okay with that. It's a lot like umpires or hockey officials. If they become the game, you're mad at them. But if they're a good experience in the game and you don't notice them, that is exactly the sweet spot. And that's what we want to do too. If the public address announcer is too overbearing or too much a part of the game and really is coming off, too much a part of the show, well, that's too much. You have to sit back and be part of the game. You have to be, same with broadcasters online. It's so essential for us not to be the game, but to be a real part of the experience. And we take a lot of pride in what we do.
Absolutely. And last year when I had you on my show, you were nice enough to hook me up with Al Murdoch, and I enjoyed having him on my show, and I still keep in touch with him, and he's one of the best PA guys out there in the business, and he's also a very good voiceover artist as well.
Yeah, I've worked with Al many times. Many times he wouldn't even know it. I've been a radio producer, and Al's voice is on so many campaigns. I guarantee your listeners would know who he is. But for those of you not in the West, Al Murdoch is also the public address announcer for the Vancouver Canucks. He's a great follow online. He is also the voice of National Hockey League extracurricular events. So when you're tuned into the NHL awards or an outdoor game or a stadium series game, Al Murdoch is flown in to be the public address announcer on behalf of the National Hockey League. He's a great announcer, a true consummate professional, but most importantly, Chris, as now you know, he's a great human being, and I love knowing great human beings.
And part of the reason I want to get into this, I have a passion for media and radio and stuff, but majority of the people I've met, I love hearing their stories, and a lot of them are good people, and it just, you know what I mean? It doesn't feel like work when you're working or having a show with somebody that is a good human being. That is so important too.
Yeah, it really is, especially when the entire goal of what we're doing or what we're hired to do is engagement. And let's really understand that. It's a lot like social media. It's not just content, it's content to engage. Engagement might be just stopping and watching. Engagement might be commenting. Engagement might be liking. And in sports, our job is to engage you into the game. If it's announcing a goal or an at-bat, that's just a simple broadcast. But if it's making sure that a sponsor's message paid a lot of money to be a part of 1,000 or multi-thousand people at a game, that sponsor message has to have some level of engagement. Certainly ROI, or return on investment, to go buy, but also engagement into the focus of why we're there. People pay good money. They buy lots of, parking, food and beverage. They sit in their seats. They want to have an experience. And anyone in broadcast will tell you our job is to ensure that we fulfill that part. We've all been to games that didn't really live up to the ticket price. We've all seen teams or players that maybe let us down. But every night, the broadcasters, the people behind the microphones, the cameras, the jumbotron, the activity that's happening on field, on ice, or in the stands, we have to be at our best because you paid for an experience. And it's my absolute privilege every night, not just with the Sylvan Lake Gulls or the Red Deer Rebels or the Calgary Flames. It's so essential for me to give you that experience because I've been someone in the seats who's had a bad experience. And I want you to have the best one possible for your 7-year-old daughter that's sitting in the seats dancing to a Taylor Swift song, or your 37-year-old nephew who's a little bit out of control because he's had one too many in a corporate suite. It's the best part of my job, and I'm glad I get to share it with fans and my own family too.
Absolutely. And with my show and my media work, I try to do the best I can. And with my show, it's about the guests. And I'm just here to try to engage with my guests and get them to share their story on my show as well. I'm not trying to make myself into somebody else. I'm just trying to have a regular conversation, Joe. The way we're talking now is the way I would talk to you if we were at a Tim Hortons or at a Gulls baseball game.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'd hope you'd tickle the ivory sitting behind you over your right shoulder too. I mean, sometimes,
I think that's my virtual background there. So I'm going to work on. I think I'm going to take it off. I'm going to eventually get I got a dungeon I use for my podcast. So I think eventually I'm going to work on getting a sports oriented room like the way you have. I like how your setup is.
Yeah, and this is all real, by the way. None of this is virtual. That's really an old-fashioned radio back there. That's legitimate sports memorabilia. There's my jersey from the Calgary Flames and the Toronto Blue Jays, and there's some unopened packs of both tops and upper deck hockey and baseball cards up there too. It's all real.
I got a ton of stuff. I just have to organize it. And I've got boxes of cards unopened as well from 2013, 2011. I don't collect them anymore, but I still have a huge collection of sports memorabilia as well. Hey, Joe, I'm just going to ask you a couple more quick questions and we'll wrap this up. But can you tell my audience a little bit about your company, Joe Social Media Incorporated, and how did that come about?
Yeah, absolutely. So Joe Social Media is a social media agency. Essentially what we do is we help manage platforms on behalf of businesses. So everywhere you go in the world, the business or the sports franchise you follow has now a presence online, or at least they should. There's a new opportunity for all business assets, whether nonprofit or for-profit, to broadcast their presence or their brand online. The downside is almost nobody in charge of those businesses went to school for it. Generationally speaking, 30 plus, 40 plus, 50 and 60 plus owners in an age category simply weren't on social channels. They have traditional advertising understanding, television, radio, newspaper, billboards, transit shelters. Those have an incredible place in our advertising. But right now, we're watching a younger generation bring about brand new social channels, but we have an older generation who are still the proprietors of their business. So Joe Social Media is see a need, fill a need. The need is learning or management of social media channels for people who simply didn't grow up knowing how they work. And let me tell you, if you think it's about posting content on Facebook to get likes, you're wrong. The algorithms are complex. These channels are sophisticated. Putting $1.25 into an ad to reach a target demographic is not easy. But when you have right people doing it who understand how to work Zuckerberg's magic in meta platforms, then you can start to take advantage of what $1.25 will buy you, and it will buy you a lot. And so that's what our company does. We train people to use the channels all of them, and we manage the channels on their behalf, not just here in my region, but all over Canada and the US. We've worked for some incredible brands, some brands that I guarantee your viewers and followers know about. And when you're talking to them online, you're actually talking to us, the managers at Joe Social Media.
And that leads to my next question too. I've learned to improve my listening skills, but in terms of social media platforms, can you explain to my audience what an algorithm is exactly?
Well, exactly is going to be tough. That could be a page long, but here's the simplicity. Here's the simplistic part. When you are online, just the very nature of you viewing, never mind following, the very nature of you viewing or stopping or pausing puts in, let's call it a point system. Let's say that there's 1 point for simply watching something, but because you and I are friends and I follow them, I might get an extra point. And the company that you're following will start using this point system to infiltrate your channel. That's why sometimes you see things you do not follow. That's advertisers paying for an extra point system. They want to infiltrate your timeline to get ads or social content in front of you. So when you understand how an algorithm works, when you understand it's not about you watching, it's about what I watch because we're connected and we just talked yesterday. That's why this is so sophisticated and complex. If you commented on one of my posts yesterday as a complete and total stranger, the algorithm of whatever channel you happen to be using will start to recognize that you would potentially like to see more of that. So right now there's a stranger of me listening to me in Atlanta, Georgia, so very far from where I am. But if you go follow me or like or comment on one of my posts right now, it's likely we will start to mix our algorithms. I'll start to see posts from Georgia. You'll start to see posts from Alberta, Canada. It won't happen immediately, but it will happen over this algorithmic scale or point system. So if you want to use that to the benefit of your business or your personal brand, then you can start to like other people's posts in a demographic you'd like to target. If you'd like less of that in your feed, wherever you might be, then you will want to stop scrolling, stop liking, and stop engaging. If you don't want to see your aunt's cat on your Facebook page, stop scrolling to your aunt's cat or liking it or liking anything else that she might post. It will eventually disappear from your algorithm. By the way, this is exactly why social society is so hateful right now. We are being shown exactly what we don't like. And do you know why? It's because we're saying we don't like it. If we say we don't like it, it hits our algorithm more the same way that if we say we like things, it hits our algorithm more. Hope that makes sense. It's complex.
Absolutely. And thank you for explaining that, Joe.
Yeah, you're very welcome. And by the way, anyone can reach out. It is complex. I'm not here to sell you anything. The algorithm is something we all need to understand. I want to be very clear on that. In a social society that is getting more unkind by the day, if we want social society to be more kind, we have to start by understanding how the algorithm works. You are being shown what to hate. You are being shown more of what you dislike. You're also being shown what you like. But the algorithm, the people who design this stuff, want you to stay inside your echo chamber. So the best thing you can do to make the world a kinder place, A, don't be a jerk online. Don't comment nasty things about umpires, officials. Don't shout at kids playing sports. But online, stop being a jerk. And 2, start purveying kindness, goodness. When you purvey kindness and goodness, you'll still be infiltrated with the negative. But if you don't participate in the negative, like everything else and your aunt's cat, it will start to go away.
Great advice. And I know many years ago when this first came out, people would say something online and I didn't like it, and I would get baited into it. So now it's like, now if I see something I don't like, I just ignore it. I just scroll by it and ignore it. And I think that's great advice, what you just said there, Joe.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And I welcome all followers, connections, LinkedIn, whatever channel you're watching. I'm very active. I speak positively about positive mental health, about the reconciliation component that we all need to identify that we've been a part of. It's not about going woke. It's not about it's about listening. It's about being inclusive, being kind. And when you're in a leadership position or a place of influence, and we all are, if you have one follower and that's your mom, you are in a place of influence. And if you can influence one person to be a better person, a better human, either online or in real life, please do it, because the world needs better people.
Joe, I was going to say, do you think schools, maybe elementary schools, high schools, should have social media courses where it's strictly somebody like yourself or somebody that knows how it works, teaching younger generations on how to use social media properly in a good way?
Well, yeah, and as some of your listeners can attest, there is curriculum right now for digital citizenship. Many of our kids are learning online. I will say they are learning in many cases from the wrong people. And I mean no disrespect to teachers or educators who are teaching it. But much like if you're learning how to do an oil change on a combustion engine, you should be taught by someone who has done that professionally. A lot of times schools are handing over curriculum taught by people who should not be teaching it.
Sure.
I shouldn't be teaching a cooking class. I can teach a cooking class, but you'll probably burn the cookies and the bread will have enough yeast in it. And so right now, to answer your question, and again, with no disrespect to anyone listening who's in education or in teaching, right now, social media should not be taught by simply teachers. It should be taught with people who have psychological training, who have brand management experience, because humans are brands now, and who have the ability to understand how the algorithm works. And I'll tell you, I have yet to meet an educator or a teacher, because they're brilliant at what they do, but not necessarily brilliant at Instagram. And so we have the wrong people teaching the right things. Digital citizenship and kindness is a real thing in real life, but it's very different online. And the way that we are purveying this to kids needs to be taught by absolute professionals.
Well said, Joe, and I'm glad I asked you that question. And we're going to wrap it up with just two more quick questions. Joe, I want to ask you this. How important is it having good mental health, and what would you give to those to looking to improve their overall mental health? And you believe people should take a break from social media from time to time as well?
Yeah, great questions. And I mean, the answer is obvious, right? We know that we're addicted to our devices. We have to stop blaming that on kids.
Guilty.
Yeah, we have to stop blaming that on kids. We are a society that blames social, digital, or anything on a device on a child. But guess who taught that child? And guess who's doing it when the child goes to bed? So the first thing we have to do is get over the fact that this is a youth or a kid problem. This is an adult, a human problem. And much like truth and reconciliation on any topic, we have to tell ourselves the truth in the mirror. And when it comes to mental health, it's okay. I am a white, privileged, heterosexual male who has to know the truth of how I was raised in a loving, incredible family. And as a result of that, I have privilege. There are others who unfortunately had horrible upbringings, things they probably wouldn't even be able to talk about publicly, which is why they don't. And as a result of that, their lives go to a depressed or a deep, dark state. Not that mine doesn't on occasion too. So mental health is an understanding where and how past traumas have impacted or affected us. And we have to persevere through that with professionals, obviously. Sometimes we can rub some dirt in things and not cry, but sometimes we have to. And sometimes we should get some medication, not rub some dirt in it. So when it comes to our mental health, let's be truthful of how we feel. When you wake up in the morning and you have a sore hip, we are very truthful in how it feels. We'll say my hip is sore or I got a kink in my neck. But when it comes to our mental health, for whatever reason, specifically among men, we have a hard time admitting that we have some bad mental health. So the other thing is in the truth, we can't have reconciliation until we have truth. And so tell yourself the truth. When you get up in the morning and you're not having a good day, or you know that you're fearful or anxious about something, it's okay to recognize that. Then you can make steps to reconcile that. So positive mental health is not perfect. You will not have it every day of your life. You will have negative mental health days, and some days you'll stub your toe. Physical health is stubbing your toe. Mental health is stubbing your brain, and you will stub your brain probably later today. Someone will make you angry or something will happen. And so just understand the truth part. In my opinion, we can't reconcile or fix anything until we admit the truth. And finally, we should take a break. Absolutely, we should take a break, but that's almost impossible now. Every streaming channel, our downtime, our anti-anxiety technical medication is our devices, and that's okay. We have to stop talking about these in a perfect science way. Should we take a break from social media? Well, no. If social media is improving your mental health, if you have an online relationship that makes you feel or valued right now, then no, don't take a break from that. That'd be like saying, should I take a break from my best friend who's with me at every hour? Of course you should. So we really have to stop talking about things in their full. We have to look at individual components. If you're just scrolling, doom scrolling, be truthful, reconcile that and take a break. And please have positive mental health and reach out to someone, even a stranger like me, if you have any issues.
Thank you, Joe, for doing that, because there are days where I get down in the dumps because I've made progress in 3.5 years, but I'm not all the way where I want to be. But I just have to keep working and grinding away at it. And what you just said, Joe, is perfectly well said.
Oh, I appreciate that. And by the way, everybody listening or watching this right now, I don't have perfect days either. I've been in the doldrums. If you're on my social, you'll see that I'm vulnerable online. I think that's important because I have a role to play among a public life. And I think it's important for people to see people like me, maybe someone they look up to, a mentor or a leader in their corporate or public world. Maybe it's through sports. It's okay for people like Chris and people like Joe to have bad days publicly. I'll tell you, that's hard because I don't want to have a bad day personally, let alone publicly, but I think I have a role to play, just like this podcast. And if I can help one person today by saying it's okay to not be okay, and it's okay to do that publicly, then I think we're helping people.
And we'll get to the last question right here. How can my audience follow you on social media and your websites? And what's the best way for people to get in touch with you, Joe?
Yeah, so if you can spell my name, then you can find me. I am Joe Whitbread. There it is at the bottom of the screen. I like to rhyme it, so it goes like this: JoeWhitbread. Joe Whitbread. I'm at Joe Whitbread on all the channels. You can find me here and there and everywhere. I respond to every comment, every direct message. I'm active online. I'm not pretentious. I'm giving. I'm vulnerable, and I'm real. This guy on your screen is legit, and he is that way privately if we were talking at a ballpark. So please get a hold of me. I have a website as well. Same thing, joewhitbread.com. You can find me on LinkedIn. Whatever your channel of choice, I'm probably on it, and I would be glad to chat with you.
And we'll wrap this up. And if you want to follow the Sylvan Lake Gulls, check out sylvanlakegulls.com. And good luck tomorrow night in against the Dogs in the best of 3 series. And take some pictures of the ballpark too. I love seeing other ballparks out there as well.
You got it, Chris. Go Gulls, go. Thanks very much, everybody.
Thank you so much, Joe. Say hi to Morgan for me, and we'll definitely keep in touch with you on social media, and really appreciate you coming on my 309th episode today.
Congratulations. Well done, Chris.
Thank you so much, Joe. We'll talk to you soon on social media. Thank you. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed season 6, episode 33 today with Joe Whitbread, who is the public address announcer for this. I almost said San Diego Gulls, Sylvan Lake Gulls as well. And he's also a public speaker and MC as well. And I consider him a friend, and I really appreciate him coming on today. So if you guys can give me a little bit of time, I will have this episode downloaded to all my audio platforms and my YouTube channel as well. Just to let you guys know, my next show is going to be Friday night, August 11th, 7 p.m., the Argo Bounce live audio show with my co-host, Nick Small. Nick and I will talk about the Argos' 20-7 loss to those Calgary Stampeders. I think Joe's team, and we're going to preview the game against the Ottawa Red Blacks this Sunday night at BMO Field at 7 o'clock. You can get tickets at argonauts.ca or you can watch the game on TSN or listen to it on TSN 1050 with Mike Hogan and Ben Grant. I will be there in the media press box, so I'm going to do some pictures, videos, and post-game interviews with Ryan Dinwiddie, the head coach, and some Argonaut players after their game, and hopefully a win against a very good Ottawa team. I think it's going to be a great game as well. There is CFL on tonight. We got the Winnipeg Blue Bombers taking on the Edmonton Elks. The Elks have lost, I think, 21 straight home games at Commonwealth Stadium. They haven't won a home game since 2019. And you know what? Winnipeg, by means, talent-wise, record-wise, should win this game tonight. But my heart's cheering for the Edmonton Elks. I want to see them get that 21-game home losing streak over as well. And that game is on 9 o'clock tonight on TSN as well, guys. And we're going to wrap up the show as always. Just give me 1 second. I have a lot of graphics here. Live with CDP Sports Talk is a weekly sports and entertainment talk show hosted by yours truly, Chris Palme. Is on weeknights at 8 p.m. Eastern on WQEE 99.1 FM in Metro Atlanta. The Key, the home of Southern sports and talk, the heartbeat of Atlanta. Our radio station's website is WQEEFM.radio12345.com as well. Live with CDP Sports Talk is live streamed on these platforms: YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, LinkedIn, and I want to say thank you to everybody watching this on live stream today as well. Guys, you can also check out, it's technically not a website, but all my social media work and all my social media sites is on beacons.ai/Chris D. Palme. So beacons.ai/Chris D. Palme. You can check out all my social media work, all my sites, and previous podcast shows there as well. Live with CDP Sports Talk, again, is brought to you by Barry Cullen Chevrolet dealership at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Auto Mall. Check out barrycullen.com for the newest selection of new and pre-owned GM vehicles, or give them a call at 519-824-0210, or email them at info@barrycullen.com. And right now there's a summer adventures event at Barry Cullen Chevrolet right now. 4.99% financing for up to 48 months on 23 Blazer RS model, and you can get more details from barrycullen.com or just visit the dealership again at 905 Woodlawn West at Guelph Auto Mall as well. You can also follow me on TikTok at Live with CDP. I post a lot of content on TikTok, so check out my player and coacher interviews and my media work there on TikTok as well. I'm also on Cameo. I applied for a talent role on Cameo, and check me out there. Just type in Chris Palme. You'll see me in there in my Philadelphia Eagles gear at Lambeau Field. And if you have any birthday wishes, greetings, or get well stuff, please follow me on Cameo and send me a request, and I will do my best to do a good job for you on Cameo as well. And I'm excited about it, and I guess I have enough followers now to be on Cameo, so I'm very appreciative of that, and I'm looking forward to hopefully doing some videos for my friends and family on Cameo as well. StreamYard is the official live stream provider of Live with CDP Sports Talks. If you're into webinars or podcasting such as yours truly, check out StreamYard.com as well. Live with CDP Sports Talk, the audio version is available on these platforms: iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Google Podcasts, Spotify for podcasters, Apple Podcasts, Breaker, Pocket Casts, Radio Public, Spotify, Castbox, LinkedIn, Stitcher, Tuned In, and again, weeknights from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. on radio station WQEE 99.1 FM in Metro Atlanta. And I want to say thank you to everybody listening to the show today as well. Finally, you can email me or text Live with CDP Sports Talk at cpalme19@gmail.com, or you can text the show at 519-820-7188. Comments, questions, suggestions, greatly appreciated as well. Finally, guys, we're going to wrap up this show. The next Live with CDP Sports Talk, Season 6, Episode 34, will be this Monday, August 14th at 6 p.m. with my guest, Ryan Drury. He is the Rogers TV play-by-play voice of the Gulls Storm of the Ontario Hockey League. He's also a radio host and personality on a radio station in Wingdam, Ontario as well. And Ryan's going to talk a little bit about the upcoming Ontario Hockey League season and the 23-24 Guelph Storm, what the team looks like, the expectations for this season, and also maybe a little bit about his podcast, the Investigator podcast as well, and his career in the radio industry as well. So I hope you guys can tune into Live with CDP Sports Talk, sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet, and weeknights at 8 on WQEE 99.1 FM. Monday night, 6 p.m. Eastern, with Ryan Drury, and we're going to talk a little bit about the OHL and the Gulls Storm as well. Again, I want to say thank you to my guest today, Joe Whitbread, for coming on our show today. And if you give me a little bit of time, I'll have the audio version of this podcast downloaded to all my platforms in the next 15-20 minutes. But I hope everybody has a great night, great weekend, and hopefully you guys can tune into the Argo Bounce live audio show tomorrow night with my co-host Nick Small and myself, 7 p.m. And I hope you guys will enjoy the CFL games this weekend as well. And I'm looking forward to the Edmonton-Winnipeg game at 9 o'clock tonight and see if Edmonton can pull off a shocker. And I'm looking forward to coming down to Toronto again on Sunday, thanks to Chris Belanovich, the manager of media communications for the CFLs and Grey Cup champion Toronto Argonauts as well. Again, thank you to Joe Whitbread for coming on here today, guys, and thank you everybody for watching and listening to Live with CDP Sports Talk. And we'll see you tomorrow night for the Argo Bounce live audio show, and then we'll see you Monday for the next Live with CDP Sports Talk at 6 o'clock with Ryan Drury. Have a great evening, everybody, and thanks again.